Welcome back. This is Newsfile, your most authoritative news analysis show. We are coming to you from the Multi-TV studios. This is your Joy News channel on television. You are listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra and elsewhere in the capital. You're also listening to us on Love 99.7 in Kumasi and over a dozen affiliate stations across the country. You can also get us at myjoyonline.com or multitvworld/streams. Subsequently, is available in the UK or elsewhere in Europe on the ABN television, the Sky Channel 235. Now, I've got loads of your text messages that are coming in, including some of you sending me the YouTube version of the interview with Stephen Sakara of the BBC and Nana Akufo-Addo with respect to that portion, whether he said he had no idea or it's really what I, told Robin he said. But you see, I think we don't need to belabor that. My production is even working to get us to play that interview. I think it may not be necessary. Truth be told, what he said was that he was not going to make those figures available until he has done so to his people. He said he didn't have them. He didn't say that he didn't have an idea. Thank you. Let's move on. Now, very, very many text messages. This one, Senior Gorazo in Amanfo. Senior Gorazo, who is Amanfo in UK. He says, Samson, please tell Mr. Julius Debra and others who are not current students or old students of Prempeh College to refrain from using the word senior, accolade, or greeting respectfully. Okay, senior is a trademark of Amanfo. God bless you.
Interesting.
I know Uncle Kweku Bako might pull out some historical facts to defend this use of the word senior. Okay, thank you very much. Amanfo should hold sway over the legal fraternity. That is what you are saying. Now, this one from Musa Abattoir. Musa Abattoir. Is Abattoir your name? Okay, Musa in the Abattoir area or something in Kumasi says something. I can say with authority that the progressive free SHS promised by the Mahama-led administration is what's spelled out clearly in our constitution, was in the right direction. Okay, Sofoya Musa in Kumbungu says, I'm personally worried that His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama has done very little to improve sanitation in the country. In his regime, Ghanaians have experienced unprecedented unhygienic conditions. Oh, how do you come to that conclusion? Okay, some of these sweeping statements. Please move on a bit for the text message we'll go to. Okay, Ata Imoro in Wellington says something. Let the quotes. Okay. He says that Samson, let me quote what then candidate Mahama said during the IEA debate in Tamale. Quote, if you are building a house, you start with the foundation, then you build a superstructure on it. According to him, his government will focus on making basic school free before free SHS. That is correct. I don't dispute that. Is basic education now free? If the NDC has no campaign message for Ghanaians in 2016, he should stop throwing dust into the eyes of Ghanaians. Achimabuakwa, someone, okay. Something, as we speak, Potag are preparing for another strike action coming on the funds, feeding grants and salaries in arrears. Yet the Mahama-led NDC government keeps on promising heaven whilst we live on earth. Lord save Ghana. Kofi A. Boateng in KNUST Kumasi says, it appears the NDC administration finds it extremely difficult to learn useful lessons when they rush to implement the previous administration's single spine salary policy. What was the consequence? Okay, this is their progressive free SHS policy is surely going to encounter the same problem. Thank you for your message. Daniel K. Owusu in Krobo Odumasi says, National Sanitation Day is a good thing which must be encouraged. But for us at Maya Krobo municipality, it is either no publication or low publication. Therefore, nothing is happening here at the moment. Oh, but you are hearing us talk about it right now. So why don't you just grab your cutlass or some, broom and go and do the job? This one says the issue is not a matter of increasing or decreasing. Okay, we'll deal with the corruption aspects very soon. Thank you very much for all the messages that you are sending in. As we go on and we find time, we'll read a lot more of them. And regarding the sanitation issue, there's someone who wanted to bring to my attention that we could even forget about the law that I was referring to, and rather refer to the Public Health Act 2012. It says that according to the Public Health Act, the punishment for littering, etc., is a fine not more than 150 penalty units. A penalty unit is about 12 Ghana cedis. 150 penalty units, or a term of imprisonment of not more than 3 years or both. Okay, so what he's saying then is that in that case, the minister suggesting that they want to amend that law, the Criminal Act, which says you should suffer 200 old Ghana cedis. It's not correct. They should not be amending anything. There's a law that will deal with it appropriately. Okay, can we now move on to the issues of corruption? I want to welcome Nana Akomia, who has been retained as the communications director of the New Patriotic Party. Good morning and welcome to the show, Nana.
Thank you, Samson.
Right.
But I must tell you that this is your in-out-in policy. We're not going to continue to be part of it much longer.
Which one is that?
This is your in-out-in policy. We don't see the relevance. So you must amend it. Otherwise, we're not going to be part of it much longer.
Oh, you're talking about bringing someone and someone else coming to replace.
Yeah.
Okay, sometimes we are interested in who has an expertise in a particular area, even though they may belong to a particular political party, and hope that they will shed a lot of light on some of those issues.
It doesn't. Okay. It doesn't sit well with us.
Your reservation has been taken. All the political parties have been fighting about seats on this particular program. If you know the way they fight about it, all right. I won't disclose.
But at the end of the day,
all right.
Our concerns
let's move on.
are also legitimate.
Nana, let's move on. Yeah.
So don't tell me that people are fighting, so you can do whatever you want. Well, you must take it.
What we may do is that we may just forget about all of you and just bring in people with expert views to speak.
You can do that, but if you want to bring us in, you must be mindful
from the start
of how we also how we also feel.
Nana, acknowledge. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, like I said earlier, the Afrobarometer survey that has been released has put the police yet again at the top of corruption. It says 89% of Ghanaians view the police service as the most corrupt public institution in Ghana. But it's not only the police service. They also think that the tax departments, the local governments, the parliament, the ruling party, electoral commission, the president, courts of law, and the opposition are also not trusted. They are corrupt as well. And, well, somehow they feel that the military is doing very well and the military is better. You can trust them when it comes to issues of corruption. Yet, there is also the GII, that's the Ghana Integrity Initiative, which has also released a survey which shows that there's been a marginal improvement in corruption in Ghana. So the question we're asking is, what is going on? So if you take the Global Corruption Perception Index, it says that Ghana is currently ranked 61 out of 175 countries that were surveyed across the world. Now, if you get 0, then it means that you are highly corrupt, a highly corrupt country. So Ghana gets 61 out of that number. What exactly is going on? In 2012, Ghana scored 45 points out of 100. It scored 46 points in 2013 out of same number, and then 48% in 2014. Who do I start with? Let me start with Nana Kumia. Is that how do you put the two together?
Well, something it looks like in terms of the global picture, we have moved forward to 2 places. But then if you look at the African picture, which is the continent in which we are situated, we have moved down 2 places. So really, I don't believe that that is anything to talk about. If you look at the Afrobarometer, the picture is abysmal. It's a terrible picture. But looking at it, Samson, it shouldn't really be that terrible, because the issue about corruption has generated nationwide concern even before Afrobarometer. Everybody is deeply worried about corruption in this country. So the Afrobarometer, which shows that over 80% of Ghanaian citizens give the government very low marks when it comes to corruption. It's just a reflection of what has been happening, the feelings of Ghanaians over the period, the last couple of years. So it really should be no surprising at all. I would just, to reinforce this point, I'll just indicate to you some of the things that have been said by people across board, across political parties, civil society, and all over. Just take 5 minutes to show you. You take somebody like Aban Bagbe, who is the majority leader in parliament today, as we speak. He has said, just last year, that he's deeply worried about corruption, and that even some of the appointments in the NDC government, when you go and investigate, you would find out that people have been put into places because they contributed money to political campaigns.
He has said even more serious things this year, not only last year.
And in this year, he said that people that he has mentored and giving them guidance and so on, all of a sudden they are ministers of state, and they have acquired properties, and it's totally incredible that those people could acquire so much property in just 2 years, 3 years of having political appointment. This is Aban Bagbe. It's not Alan Chermartin, or it's not Kweku Bako, for that matter. You have Tony Edo, who's a stalwart of the NDC, says that he can't understand why government cannot collect monies that have been wrongly paid out, that the courts of Ghana have ordered that those monies should be returned. A gentleman called Jose Aye used to be the general secretary of the NDC. Recently, he said that the president has hired thieves who go stealing in the night. He's a former general secretary of the NDC. Chiefs, prominent chiefs have found it necessary to put their voice because of the stinking nature of corruption. You had the secondary chief, the Supreme Court of Ghana, justices on the Supreme Court. People normally reserved and wouldn't want it to get into commentary that can be interpreted as political. Justices on the Supreme Court, because of the stinking nature of corruption, they've had to come out and speak. And they say that what is happening in Ghana today, you cannot understand it except to see that it's just a collusion, a deliberate attempt to steal monies from the taxpayer.
And you elevate what Aban Bagbe and Josiah and others say to be the gospel?
No, because these are people, stalwarts of the NDC. That's why I'm starting with them. But if you go beyond them, TUC, what TUC have said about corruption in this country is frightening. TUC. Jerry Rawlings, he brought the NDC. No, but you can't love the NDC more than Jerry Rawlings. Look at what he's talked about corruption in this country. Even Nunu Mensah, the general, he said that corruption is at epidemic levels. And these are people who are in the NDC. So they don't have any motive to speak bad about the government. The Chief Justice, what he has said, he said that Ghana is on a frightening spiral downwards.
Tipping point.
Tipping point. This is the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. Indeed, international magazines have had cover stories for the first time in living memory where this country is tagged as the Republic of Corruption. You know, so it's gotten to a situation where it's basically out of control.
Which international magazine is this you're referring to?
What do we call it?
Is it Africa Watch?
Africa Watch. Africa Watch. Africa Watch. They have an edition just a couple of months ago. On the cover, Republic of Corruption. It's never happened. I've never seen it before. But it's happening today.
When Africa Watch rated MPs, you were MP, you didn't accept it.
No, I didn't complain. You see, for me, I take these things at face value, unless somebody can point that these magazine or these people are being politically mischievous. But if the TUC, the clergy, the judiciary, these are people making these pronouncements, I take them very serious because they don't have any motive to be politically mischievous. You've had senior pastors calling for new leadership response in this country, basically because of corruption. You have J.J. Rawlings saying that corruption is unprecedented, it is offensive, and the people of Ghana are looking for a sign, a small sign, that the government is committed. This is J.J. Rawlings. This is not a Nanado Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Look at the Chief Justice.
Now, how do you contrast that with the Global Corruption Perception Index, which says we have marginally improved?
I have said to you right from the start that the Global Perception Index, we have moved forward 2 places. Compared to our contemporaries in Africa, we have moved down 2 places. So really, the African countries, Nigeria, a lot more countries are doing better than us. So it's really nothing. And then you look at the Afrobarometer, which is done in over 20 countries across Africa, and you look at the reports.
A sample of 2,400 people.
Yes. Yes, and you look at the report that have come out. I mean, it's unimaginable. But you see, for me, look at what people who cannot be said to have any motive. Look at what they themselves are saying about corruption today in this country. So that's, for me, a better. So when looking at personalities like Aban Bagbin, who is the majority leader. He's not some backbench, disgruntled MP. The majority leader. He is the one leading the party in the Parliament of Ghana. This is what he is saying about corruption in his own party and government.
Godwin, we even have a new group that's come up, a new group of people of the middle class, so to speak, who say, look, we will not sit down and allow our country to go down, that particular road. And so you have had Occupy Ghana organize series of corruption seminars, and they've actually now are targeting specific institutions to do their job. They've given the Auditor General, the Accountant General, a deadline to meet. We are watching that deadline to collect all monies that were stolen. Yeah, to collect all monies. I think that deadline is tomorrow, really, is it? Very interesting that he was supposed to have collected. Now, when I read what the Transparency International is talking about, this is how bad the corruption situation can work on the poor in Africa. It says that its concern is that in Africa, citizens were confronted with corruption, access to poor basic services, illicit financial flows from Africa were quickly draining the continent and depriving African countries of resources for investment and development. Currently, illicit financial flows from Africa exceed combined inflows from the official development assistance. How bad can it get?
Yeah, thank you, Samson. With this issue of perceptions of corruption, the CDD paints a gloomy picture. But you see, we should not lose sight of the fact that the CDD search at the time was when certain revelations were coming up. And you see, Ghanaians must take their time to appreciate exactly what the John Mahama administration is up doing. This is a government that is committed to uprooting corruption. This is a government that is interested in investigating whatever little, even if it is a noise, the government is committed to finding out who is behind what and is interested in the investigations and the prosecution. I think that all of us, including my senior brother, should pat John Mahama, His Excellency, at the back.
Don't put me
and give him kudos.
Don't put me into your say-so.
And give him kudos. Because you see, a short while ago, unless something you had forgotten, we had a sitting president who said he was not going to investigate and prosecute his ministers so that his party will lose elections.
The president who said what you just said?
That is so. At his party's congress, I think in Sunyani.
Who is that? Which president is this?
J. Ekufuor.
Kufuor.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He said so at a congress, MPP congress. I didn't want to go into, we have said the past should be allowed to.
I've never heard this.
Oh, he said so. Now, he said he was not going to prosecute his people.
Beyond simply saying he said so, can you show us something
in fact,
concretely?
In fact, may I also acknowledge that I will not be able to show you because I was not built for this program. I was hijacked to attend this program. Yes. Okay. And so, to find out...
But you know what you're saying is
yes, it's true. I can always give the source.
Can I give you the instances where
excuse me,
had to discipline people in his own government?
Excuse me, if you allow me just to complete.
Just go.
Okay.
You see, if President Mahama is now bringing up these matters, investigating them, and he's willing to prosecute them, that is a big plus. You see, look at the GII index. That gives you the correct picture of what is happening today. That we are improving in what? Our fight for corruption. You see, let me give you a scenario, Samson. This issue about the National Service staff, are we saying that they began in John Mahama's presidency? No. But which government is now ready to fight these people? It is John Mahama's government. That's why I'm saying that he needs a pat at the back. It is his government that has brought these things up. We cannot sit here and say...
You are aware that they happened in the past. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that these things... In fact, let me use the word a systemic failure. This thing has been in the system.
When I did National Service in 1988... trace back and
when I did National Service in 1988, well, I know you'll be amazed to hear that. These are matters that have, bedeviled our system, and this is the government that is willing to fight it. I'm not sure Nana will say that under the MPP, this didn't happen.
How do you feel about this? Let me give you
but
this.
You see,
let me give you this example. How do you feel about it? Last night, I was watching this Gifty Auntie's Standpoint, and an NGO, Comfort, Ghana. It was revealed has sponsored the education of 35,000 needy girls from the 4 SADA zones. 35,000 needy girls from the SADA zones. Some of them have now become nurses. Some of them were saying they're pursuing courses at various universities. And I say, this has happened in the SADA zone. If we had given just 1% of the SADA money, can you imagine what would have happened?
You see, Samson, this is an afterthought. But may I say, and quickly so, that you see, the development of this country is not only the responsibility of the government. Everybody has a stake. In fact, Samson, I will not be surprised if you, in your own community, you pay school fees to improve somebody's life in your community. I will not be surprised. It is a collective responsibility. And I'm not sure that the MPP will say that because John Mahama is the NDC is in government, in their various communities, the little girls and boys who need help will not be assisted. They would. So you see, if today we have come to see that SADA brought a problem, why do we want to play it that, oh, if that money, when it began, it had a good intention. But you see, the systemic failure is what has brought us where we are now. So you see, the systemic failure cannot be traceable to the NDC. It can be traceable to Ghana. This is our problem. So we have to take our time. And you see, for the
so you're saying that in the NPP regime,
yeah,
it is traceable to the president and the party, but in the NDC regime, it is traceable only to Ghana.
I have not said so.
Okay.
I'm saying that there has been a systemic failure, which has spanned over a period. But I'm saying that under a regime, there was a commitment not to open the Pandora's box. There was a commitment. But under the regime of the NDC under John Mahama, he is committed to uprooting all the mess, to have Ghana cleaned of all these practices. That is what I am referring to. And that is why I'm saying that this is a government that needs a pat on the shoulder. So that when we take the GII index, you will see an improvement over the period. Let's give John Mahama up to 2006 and see where we'll be. You understand the point?
Okay.
Please don't cut me short. Let me conclude by saying that, you see, when people make mention of dubious judgment debts being paid, now the judges are not there. When judges they come out with their judgment, they don't do so because somebody is corrupt or another person is not corrupt. No, judges make their findings based on the matters before them. You understand the point? Now, judges are not there. Judges are not there to say that this person is corrupt. Judges can only say that this was not properly done, this was properly done, this was not properly done. Do this, do that, or don't do that.
Okay.
That is what they must do. But you see, when you talk about religious leaders saying that we need new leadership, now these religious leaders themselves, don't they need new leadership within their religious sector?
They certainly do. Now, you don't give your taxes to them. Kweku, see.
He didn't give me the opportunity.
Don't worry. Kweku, he's talking about, Gordon is talking about system. But I think it is the better way to look at it. That this system is operated by people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Systemic failure.
So you look at both sides of the coin. The system fail because the human beings we have put in charge, in many instances, deliberately sabotage the system, create problems for the system in order to, benefit. Corruption is the abuse of public office for private gain. Of course, these days, you can stretch even the definition. But, the question that was posed, I find it quite an interesting question, whether there's a certain difference or contradiction between the Afrobarometer and the Transparency International one. Very marginal. Also, I'm not sure about the sample size, whether they are the same, and the kind of people who were interviewed. Usually the Transparency International, it's business people, academics, risk analysts, both resident and non-resident, and some other international agencies of repute who have some record in terms of how they assess countries and the rest, and institutions. It's a very reputable organization, and their findings are not to be underrated at all. I've been a follower of those things for years, and I appreciate and respect them. So with Afrobarometer. But it's so marginal that I think it would be a waste of intellectual energy to seek to do a comparative between the two and suggest that this shows that we are doing well. The truth of the matter is that the Transparency International, in spite of the marginal thing, still tells us that we are confronted with a huge challenge relative to fighting corruption.
Emil Shaw says that doesn't reflect the reality.
Well, he may say so. That's his opinion. But over the years, we'll be using that to rate ourselves in a certain context. I want to stay consistent with it. So if it's 4.8, it's marginal improvement relative to what we had the year before, which I think was 4.6 or so. Go back to 1999 and check all the ratings, most of them which I have here. Each time we interrogated those things within context and agreed that either we're doing well or we're falling behind. It was all meant to motivate us to do better in terms of strengthening institutions and fighting the canker of corruption. So in principle, I don't think there's much to waste our time on in terms of contradictions. There isn't much there, you know. Now, I sometimes wonder why we do these things to ourselves. So you trapped my brother very well by a certain question. And he said, oh, he hadn't said that. But fair deal. See, under Kufuor, we had the conduct or perceived misconduct or conflict of interest or corruption of a sitting president interrogated by a creature of the Constitution. Mr. Kufuor, as a sitting president, before Shraj, and the audit service. When the VRA palaver exploded, we had 3 levels of investigations. The National Security Secretariat, the Ministry of Energy setting up a committee of inquiry, and the audit service, the Auditor General's office, probing it before it went to Parliament, because the NDC chaps wanted parliamentary probe as well, you know. And there are many other instances. The Bamba's indiscretion, the one that allowed his partner to go into his office and apply, it led to his resignation.
Using the letterhead of the castle.
Yes, and the case was handed over to the police CID for investigations. So there were many instances of investigations as well. I don't recall President Kufuor saying that he would not conduct investigations into allegations of corruption against his ministers because it would destroy his government. I remember him saying that he would not go out there and publicize rumors of corruption just because it's being made in the media here and there, because that could destroy confidence in the system. And that's a truth.
And Professor Mills answered him that he would pursue rumors.
And you know that Professor Mills, when he held his first press conference, the first meet the press, repeated exactly what President Kufuor had been saying, that you make allegations, you don't stop there, bring evidence. But President Mills, as candidate Mills, actually said President Kufuor, being a lawyer, should know that you have to investigate allegations to get evidence. And yet, when he was sitting there as president and talking to the media, he said, bring evidence, vindicating Kufuor. You see, let's have a sense of proportion and some fairness when we are interrogating these issues. Because if we're not careful, that sends us into a partisan realm. And then the real agenda is lost. So where sometimes some of these things can be said, let it be said elsewhere. And be honest, if it's said on such platforms, it becomes difficult. It blocks our focus. So to be honest, the important thing, all governments, from Nkrumah to today, have been confronted the challenge of fighting corruption and fighting it effectively. We've put in place various laws. Many legislative instruments have been put in place to fight corruption. Whistleblower Act is one of them. The Freedom of Information Bill, I'm told, is almost ready to be dealt with so that we can have an act out of it. We've had so many public procurement law. Okay, so legislation, we have not been enforcing, of course, some of those things effectively. The audit reports have been there lying. So there's a massive problem for us as a nation. Let's look at it in that manner. So really, if it's 4.8 now, fine. Take it, move on, fight the corruption more effectively. There are people in court, and they facing some cases. Let's see what happens to them. So for me, I think that's the way we should focus on this matter, rather than begin a partisan political calculation on those issues.
Well, and it's also been argued over time that if there was really that much corruption in the NPP as Gordon is claiming, then how come the NDC, when it is given the opportunity, has been, unable to sustain any prosecution of NPP officials? And that
it's a problem for them.
We have seen a litany of the attempts in court being dismissed.
Yes.
Now.
Is there a problem?
What's your question?
Let's have your take
on this matter.
On how you see how you balance the two. One says it is increasing, and then another says there is a marginal, decrease in the corruption perception.
I admire Nana Akomia's style of approaching this, and I'm going to go that way. What has not been told by Nana Akomia is that J. Rawlings also described Kufuor as Ataye. So I thought that should have been added. What has not also been told is that Alban Babin, in closing his remarks on the budget, said that the MPP sold public lands to themselves. That has not been added, so you can add it to his repertoire.
He didn't add that.
What has not been told? I've always said that when you are talking, I feel uncomfortable, but I'm able to pinch myself. Suffer like I suffered before.
Apologies.
Now, what has not also been told, that there was once a chairman of the MPP who described the castle as a den for paying 10%, 20% kickback.
Wow.
So we need to add that to the repertoire. And what has not been told is that Apiofori, or what's his name, the former MP, PC Apiofori, indicated that some MPs from the majority side took monies to approve Vodafone. So you see, let's look at it holistically. Let's not choose and pick which one.
Is it important? Is it important to also consider these claims, whether they were proving? Apiofori, were they proving?
I am saying that.
No, he was giving the opportunity. Was he able to prove them?
In fact, the reports are talking about perception.
Okay, let's take it this way. He could not prove that, so take that one out.
No, let me make my point. Let me make my point.
Did Babin also prove
No, I am capable of dealing with them.
Questions are being asked.
What did I tell Nana? What did I tell?
Not fair.
Oh, what do you mean by fairness? What did I ask Nana? I asked him whether he took Bagwing's comments as gospel.
Godwin.
And he said so.
Godwin, I'm capable.
Yeah, so he's entitled to do that.
I'm capable of dealing with these things.
No, you were asked the question. Answer it.
That's what I'm answering. I'm crawling, you are running. In these two reports, nowhere has it said that the people who were interviewed proved it.
Which report?
Barometer and the IGI. Didn't you talk about
it?
Is
that the answer for the question you were asked?
Coco, please allow him to move. Yeah.
Look,
it's a perception index. Let's go on.
So we are dealing with perception. And I'm on that score. So the story must be told in full. If Rawlings has now become a gospel for deciding who is corrupt or not, we need to let the entire gospel of President Rawlings be told. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so Gordon has done what you're doing. Can we move on
Gordon
from
has not
the political
That's
football? So we find out who is more
now,
guilty.
when you look at the two reports, and you see, my understanding of the Afrobarometer report indicates that the previous year it was around 80-something, 86, and that it has now come to 83. Now, when you look at the methodology of two reports, with the Afrobarometer, the higher your score, the more corrupt you are. With the GI, with the barometer, the lower your score, the less corrupt you are.
That's correct.
With the GI, the higher your score, the less corrupt you are. So if you understand it from this angle, both reports signify a marginal improvement in our fight against corruption.
Oh, there's those who did the survey speak of an increase.
And that's how I was asking for the figures. Indeed, when you look at GI, they've given us figures. Afrobarometer, I have been combing around to see the figures.
Oh, what you're reading is a newspaper publication. You're not reading the report itself.
So the report has the figure that I've just talked about, around 86 and 83. But again, it's still too high. Now, any report that is talking about perception of corruption in this country and does not take into consideration these public investigations into alleged corrupt practice will not be doing the report a good deal. And the reason why in the GI we have improved, and in fact it should be told that for the past 3 years we have been improving. The reason why this improvement has come about for me is simply because of these public hearings or public investigations into alleged corrupt practices. What does this tell you? And even for those who are saying that the government is corrupt, would, when they are pushed to the wall, would cite the same matters that are used to fight corruption as a reason for saying that. So, for instance, when you ask Nana, he'll tell you that, look, there's Jida rot. What are we doing in Jida? You know that somebody is being prosecuted in Jida. He will say that National Service Scheme, what are we doing with National Service? Somebody is responding to it. He will say that Black Stars, they went and chopped money. What are we doing with Black Stars? There is public investigation into it.
He also say that in respect of Jida, some of the monies you are supposed to collect back, you are too slow in collecting the monies back.
So I'm saying that if there's not going to be any fresh, new case that they will refer to as acts of corruption. It will be the same old cases which government itself has made public and has instituted investigation into them, and some are even standing trial. So, for me, is the GII report which gives a clear picture, because you cannot, if you are groping in the dark, you cannot fail to see prosecutions going on.
It says, the report says the police is the most corrupt. And this we know this is not the first time. What do you say about that?
The police, because of their interface with the public, most of the time are accused of those practices.
What's your experience?
Oh.
Does it confirm what your experience, or it does not?
No, I know there's some corruption within the police. It's not all policemen who are corrupt. There are bad ones who are making the institution look bad. And I have personally seen instances where police take money from drivers. That is a common scene. So that one is clear. You cannot gloss over it. But I'm also saying that we should be cautious not to paint every policeman with the same brush. There are policemen who are upright. Recently, a policeman was rewarded by the IGP for refusing bribe, even though a little an amount, but the trend is that police people take bribe. So we should commend those policemen who are upright. And
well, the police
right
itself has come out to say that they are going to stop taking bribes, and they say that that bribe, it takes two. They say you to stop trying to give them bribes. What it simply means is that you most probably will have to sit in your car and wait for a longer period. They probably may waste your time on the way when you have been stopped for very flimsy reasons. And those are some of the reasons some Ghanaians just can't stand it. Or they may put some flimsy charge on you. You waste your time at the police station. Nothing really goes on. And after a while, they say they are taking you to court. And before you say Jack, they say, oh, you go away. It's okay. Thank you very much. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back. How time flies. You're welcome back to Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis show. Salifu says that, dear Samson, the fourth Republican Constitution did not start last year. The progressive being talked about is all major efforts that have been taking place since 1993 towards the improvement of basic and secondary education, and not just cutting sword for projects whose fate we cannot tell for now. What is the deputy minister talking about? And then Mikey Man says something. See how Insoa is trying hard to prove Nane's promise. It wasn't possible, but a mere vote-winning promise. NDC all along has said graduated program. Very much disappointed in Insoa. Daniel Ama Ata says that the Afrobarometer, that's what you want to say, it says that, okay, just not getting the beginning of what you had to say. It says that Afrobarometer, okay, you are the Afrobarometer manager. Okay, thank you. It says the Afrobarometer is not saying anything different from our report. See slide 37. We also indicated that across all the institutions, officials tracked between 2012 and 2014, there were marginal declines in corruption perception. Okay, so that's what Abraham Amalba was saying. This is exactly what the CPI, that's the Corruption Perception Index, captured in the marginal improvement in score from 45 in 2012 to 46 in 2013 and 48 in 2014. In any case, the CPI also said corruption is still a serious challenge in Ghana. Okay, thank you. Simon in Walewale says what? Corruption under the watch of the governing NDC has reached an alarming proportion. Frank Boateng Ejakwa in Kumasi says the NDC has squared the will of the Ghanaian people through corruption. I didn't get that. They have brought this country into economic and financial abyss. And now, with reality staring them in the face of imminent loss of elections in 2016, they are desperate to implement free SHS in 2015 and provide sanitary pads. Mohammed Montala, University of Education, Winneba says, to borrow the words of my mentor, Manasseh Azoria Winnie, in his speech at the Occupy Ghana corruption a couple of weeks ago. He says that if there is any Ghanaian who is old enough to reason but still thinks that corruption in our republic is not alarming, then that person is either a fool or a crook, does not live in this country, or he or she is a beneficiary of the corruption. Okay, good morning. Thank you very much.